And the reason why that is because the further you get from yourself, the more chances you have of burning out and being truly, truly unhappy. And I'm circling back to the beginning of this conversation. I don't put up with hurt. I don't deal with hurt. So I don't deal with unhappiness either. If I'm unhappy in a situation, either I remove myself from the situation if I can't change it. And if I can, I change the situation. But either or, I'm going to adapt something, either by leaving or by changing what I can. So that was the trigger to everything that I do now, is because every single individual on this planet matters. We are not made by mistake. Even if we are the result of an unplanned pregnancy, we are still here for a reason.
Welcome to Your Wordless Podcast, the space where we redefine success, self-worth, and transformation. I am Nick Nieras, the soul-centered architect of transformation, helping you unlock your highest potential and build a legacy beyond limits. Now, whether it is self-mastery, career breakthroughs, or wealth creation, this is where change begins. Now let's dive in. Hey, I'd like to say thank you to the sponsor of our episode today, Fish Audio. Now, if you're a podcaster, voiceover artist, or content creator looking for hyper-realistic AI-generated voices, you need to check out Fish Audio. Ranked among the top 2 most realistic voice generators in 13 languages, Fish Audio lets you create high-quality voiceovers with just a few clicks. It's open-source friendly, super fast, and best of all, affordable with the lowest prices in the market. Try it today for free at fish.audio and start creating with AI-powered voices today. Now, let's get back to the video you're watching.
Oh my God! Look at this sunset! It's insane!
Are you stuck in a job that you don't love, feeling like you're meant for more? It is not in your head, it is in your soul. I am Nick Nieras, and I help high achievers like you break free from burnout, rewire self-doubt, and build a life aligned with purpose through coaching, hypnotherapy, and soul activation. Because let's face it, real wealth isn't just about money. It is about a aligned and happy heart, mind, and soul. Now, remember, you are worthy and you are enough. Let's transform your life together. Visit www.thenicknieras.holisticlifestyle.com to begin. What was it like growing up as an Isabelle Fortin? Well, the Isabelle Fortin.
Well, how was that like? It was traumatizing. I lost my mom when I was 5.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Thank you. I appreciate the sentiment. Yeah, so my upbringing was not fun. I was a very, very sad kid, and rightfully so. And it was just, yeah. And it's funny because well, not funny, haha, but when I think back on it, the sadness that I feel now is for her because she died at 36. And that's really, really, really young to die. So yeah. So it was certainly not the childhood that I would have wished for myself, but there are worse things in the world, and that was just my story. So that's what growing up me was like.
So I like to see the connection, right, from childhood, because all of our beliefs are programmed since between 0 to 8 years old, 7 years old. So would you say what prompted you to actually pursue right now? Did it have any connection to how you were brought up, or how you were raised, or how you actually fared through life, like in the early years?
I think that what I do now for a living is truly connected to who I truly am. I'm like the rest of the 9 billion people on this planet. I'm an extremely unique individual, and I am unapologetic about that. I don't see the world the way that everybody else does, and that's a blessing for me. And so for me, it was a long, long, long journey to just simply come back to who I am.
Love that. So much to unpack. Okay, but first off, Canadian, Royal Canadian Air Force. Okay, TMI, I've always wanted to become a pilot before, but maybe not in this lifetime. So talk to us. What was it like? I mean, how did you end up being in the Air Force?
It was the family business. Both my parents served. That's how they met. And when I joined in 1989, my brother was an Air Force pilot. So for me, that was just the logical step out of high school. It was just, well, signed the dotted line. Since Canada is part of the Commonwealth, well, we pledge allegiance to the Queen. Well, the Queen is deceased now, is King Charles III, but so yeah, that's just what I did. That was the logical step for me. And I have to tell you, Nicolette, I loved every minute of it for about 5 to 7 years.
I
And
bet.
when I decided to leave, it wasn't about being in the military because truth be told, I really looked for a trade that I could do. It's just that the trade that I was in, I was getting bored and I don't deal with boredom. I am not put on this planet to be bored and I'm not put on this planet to hurt. So when something hurts, whether it's psychological or physiological, I seek medical help because I'm not put on the I wasn't punished. When I was put on this planet, I wasn't being punished. So I'm going to do whatever it is that I can do to make this experience fun. And if it ain't fun, it ain't there. Which is why I'm here today, because I know this is going to be fun.
Yes, we are exactly where we're meant to be.
Exactly.
So, wow. Okay. So, Isabel, what made you leave the Air Force and then move into the corporate
I
world?
was bored. I did a decade, but after 7, 8 years, I started to be bored in my daily work, not in my life,
Mm.
not in the military really appealed to my sense of duty and my sense of belonging because there's nothing like serving your country and to feel like you're in service of something greater than you, regardless of what your country is, right? I'm Canadian. I'm proud to be Canadian, but I'm sure that if I was from Peru, I'd be as proud to be from Peru, right? Because every part of the world has something beautiful to offer. I struggled with that decision because I really loved being in the military. I just hated my job.
I'm so curious. What do you do like on a daily basis?
I worked in my trade is called training control. So I was in charge of making sure that every individual in the squadron had the training they needed to the level of they were at. So if it was a pilot and they needed a recurring training every 6 months, it was my job to not only follow what their next training level was, but, book them on the course, book their flight, book their hotel, put the claim in and so do everything that had to do with paperwork and take care of the humans and their development. So that part of the job I really enjoyed in the fact that, I like being involved with people. I really truly I'm fascinated by humans. Every single human being on this planet, it has something to share, has something valuable, and I seek to understand them out of sheer curiosity. So that was fun, but the actual work, like what I physically had to do and stuff, it was getting boring. And another thing about me is when I know my job inside out, it's time to change.
I love that.
Why?
Yes.
Because I get bored. It's full circle, Nicolette. We're all the way.
Yes. And I think this flows nicely to what you're doing right now
Yeah.
because it's humans first, human leadership.
Yes.
So talk to us about that.
Okay, so I came across, it's a strange series of events, but I came across a psychometric assessment a long, 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 long time ago. And I was very curious about them. And I took one and I thought, that's interesting, but I don't recognize myself in this. So I took another one and then another one, and I ended up taking pretty much all of them. Out of, again, sheer curiosity. Eventually I found one. It's called Nova. It is from Switzerland. It is science-based. It's been in existence for over 30 years. And that particular personality test, and I hate that term I use it because it's common language, but I hate that term and I'm going to tell you why. Because my personality isn't something you can test, right?
Yeah.
So it's a
Yes.
psychometric assessment. So what does that mean? Well, it measures how do you prefer to live your life? How is your brain connected? What's your cognitive preferences? What's your behavioral preferences? What's your communication preferences? So that's what it measures. It doesn't measure what you're capable of or your intelligence. That's got nothing to do with that. It's how do you prefer, how do you function in the world? How do you deal with conflicts? How do you deal with challenges? How much influence do you need? How directive are you? How structured are you? What is your need for stability, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this particular assessment, the reason I chose to work with that one is because it not only goes into everything I just said, but it will also assess how you are naturally and how you have adapted yourself. So is there a situation in your life where it requires you to be outside of your boots, right? To deal in a way that is not natural to you. And the reason why that is because the further you get from yourself, the more chances you have of burning out and being truly, truly unhappy. And I'm circling back to the beginning of this conversation. I don't put up with hurt. I don't deal with hurt. So I don't deal with unhappiness either. If I'm unhappy in a situation, either I remove myself from the situation if I can't change it. And if I can, I change the situation. But either or, I'm going to adapt something either by leaving or by changing what I can. So that was the trigger to everything that I do now, is because
Mm.
every single individual on this planet matters. We are not made by mistake. Even if we are the result of an unplanned pregnancy, we are still here for a reason. I truly, truly believe that to the core, to the essence of my being. And so therefore, I want to help individuals to be more of who they are. And that's what I
Mm.
do.
Wow.
There's a
This
lot,
is,
right?
yeah, this is so powerful. Okay. Now you've been in the industry for a while now.
A little over 2 decades. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Thank you.
2 decades. So what is the common theme? What are the common themes that you see when you go in and help these corporate organizations?
The first two that are the most important is there seems to be in the private sector, there seems to be a really big misunderstanding of what leadership is. They confuse leadership and management, and this is not the same thing. That's the first thing. And the second thing is the lack of leadership training. I
Okay.
always take the sales department because sales departments in corporations are usually the department that gets the most money. If they need training, they get it. If they need tools, they get it because that's what brings the money to the corporation or the company. So CEOs or presidents of corporation will be more willing to spend more money on the development of the sales skills. So what they do in the corporate world is they take the best salesperson and they say, well, you're great in sales. You hit your numbers every quarter and we love that. And, you obviously know how to talk to people because in order to be a great salesperson, you need to know how to talk to people. And then they put that person in charge of the sales department. And selling is a skill and leadership is a whole different bunch of skills. And some of the skills are applied to both. But if you don't get leadership training, if you don't offer your leaders leadership training, if you don't give them the opportunity to become better leaders, then they won't. And it's not their fault. They don't have the tools yet. So we need to teach them what the tools are. It is as simple as that.
Wow. So what is the difference between leadership and management?
Management is about getting things done. It's about making sure the train's on time. Leadership is about putting every effort and energy into the people. So the job of a leader, and that's not my quote, it's Simon Sinek's quote. The job of the leader is not to get the job done. It's not being in charge of people. It's taking care of the people in your charge. And that's the difference. It's people oriented. And truth be told, there are some natural born leaders out there. They are few and far between. And most of the ones that I have met are not in a leadership position.
Are managers. Okay. And why is that detrimental to the company?
Because it increases everything. Good leadership increases everything. It increases employee engagement, increase efficiency, productivity. It increases your bottom line by an astonishing number, like 86%. And this is not a number I drew out of my hat. There's literally stats on this. And everybody in the world loves ChatGPT now. Go to ChatGPT and ask, how much, when an employee is engaged in their work, how much productive they become. And you'll be absolutely dumbfounded by the answer you get. And honestly, Nicolette, think about it. How do you feel, and the listeners, how do you feel as an individual when you feel like you're heard, seen, and valued? You feel great about yourself. When you know what you bring to a company or a team or even a supervisor or a leader, when you know what it is that makes you special inside that team and what it is that you can do better than everybody else, and there's always something, everybody has something. When you know what that is, how do you feel about your work? You feel engaged. You feel great. You want to go to work in the morning. Not only to bring money home, and of course, money is an issue. Of course it is. We work to bring money, but we seek much more than that. And we need it now. More than ever, we need it now.
How do you tie empathy between all of this?
Hi, I'm Nick Nieras, your host of the Your Worthless podcast. Now, if these real raw stories hit home, don't wait. Please follow, like, and subscribe my Spotify and YouTube. For bite-sized inspirational reels, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Don't wait. Your transformation starts today. Thank you, and bye for now.
It's the number one pillar. When I work with a leader and a team, because I don't only work with the leaders, I work with the team members as well. That's the first thing that I tell the leaders. There's 3 pillars to work with me. You have to either have or be willing to learn to be adaptable, learn to communicate better, and learn empathy. And you can't have one without the other. It's a 3-legged stool, and you remove one of them and the stool falls down. Empathy is
So when you go into a company and start working with them, how would you do?
Well, the first thing that I do is I have everyone I'm going to work with do the psychometric assessment, because I need to know how to better communicate with these people. So if you're an extremely babbly person, which I am, and you're talking with someone that the fewer words, the better, it is my responsibility to adapt to the way that they prefer to be communicated with. So by doing the psychometric assessment, then I know how to do that because the assessment tells me. So I have the leader take the assessment first, and then I do the debrief on the leader so that they know what I'm going to do with every single one of their team members, and so that they can also understand themselves better. Because all of us, including myself, and I'm raising my hand really high on this one, we all think that we are extremely self-aware. Right? You ask 1,000 people, are you self-aware? And 995 people are going to say yes. And there's a great, great study on this that lasted about 5 years. It's from a Harvard University professor called Tasha Eurich. And she and her team read every piece of literature every study ever written everywhere in the world on self-awareness. And then they started a study on close to 5,000 participants. And out of 5,000 participants, they only found 52 that were actually extremely self-aware. So
Oh,
in reality, what that means is 95% of us think that we are self-aware, when in reality, that number is closer to 10%, 10, 12%. Actually, I should say about 90% of us are lying to ourselves about the fact that we are lying to ourselves, right? So that's why I start with the psychometric assessment. Because even I rose my hand really, really high, like I believe I'm extremely self-aware. And when I take the assessment on myself, I go, I'm not like that. And then the person doing my test is saying, yes, but can, and then she asks a few questions. And at the end of the questions, I go, yeah, forced to admit that I am like that. But I just was unaware, right? So that's why I started.
yes.
There was four to answer your questions. There was four things. I can't remember all. You can go check out Tasha Urich. She has a great TEDx and she has a great website that explains what actually being self-aware is, or having highly self-aware. But if my memory serves, is knowing obviously what you think of yourself, how you are perceived in the world, what other people think of you, and how you fit into the world. And these were kind of the four criterias. And please don't quote me on this. If I made a mistake, just know that it's not me blowing wind out of my ass. It's just, it's my memory going berserk. But there's her team did such an amazing job on self-awareness. And they wrote two books. Actually, she wrote two books. The first one is Insight. And guys, I'm not being paid for this, mind you. I speak about her so often. I should I should
Should show your
I
royalty right
should
there.
I should reach out. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, her first book is called Insight, and it tells you all about self-awareness, and it actually gives you um exercises and that you can do at the end of each chapter.
And I can feel from the conversation you're a person that you also dive deep within yourself. And you kind of mentioned at the start of the conversation, you said we are all actually finding the way back within ourselves. So what is this sounds to me like a spiritual journey that you had, or maybe you're spiritual, maybe you're religious. I'm a person of faith myself. So what is your take on that? What has your journey been on that path?
I am spiritual. You are correct. My job on this planet is to be connected to myself as much as I possibly can. So I am fearless when it comes to self-discovery. I will leave no stone unturned, and I will dig as deep as I possibly can, even when it looks like it's going to hurt. And I think that that's what most people aren't willing to do, is they will say, well, no, I don't want to look inside because I'm afraid it's going to hurt. Well, it's going to hurt. But when you come out of the hurt, you realize that the pain was just a stepping stone to feeling better. That's it. It's a tool that the physical body has to tell you to maybe stop doing something or improve on something. And it's the same tool physiologically and mentally and spiritually. The hurt is just a way that the body has to tell you that you're doing something that maybe isn't aligned with who you are or who you're seeking to be.
And then you also said whenever you're hurt or you're in a place of hurt, you take action upon that issue.
Yeah.
You either remove yourself or you try to mitigate it by, you know,
Yeah.
reducing the hurt or seeing if that situation can be saved. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I had a guess. I want to quote not from him, but then this quote of is easier said than done. But then he quoted, it's easier done than said. You just have to do it before you're ready.
Yeah.
It's easier done than said. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It is courage before confidence.
Yes.
Yeah. It is. It is. It requires an insane amount of courage, this life of ours. And I understand that for some people and some religious beliefs, and that's okay. I'm not putting anything or anyone down. It's, well, I'm going to suffer, but I'm going to pay, I'm going to cross over to heaven and I'm going to, have
Redeem it then.
exactly redeem all that pain later, which is, what, that's fine. I understand that and I can actually identify to it. For me, it's more of a, heaven or hell is here now, is here in my life now. And hell is way easier to access, right? So if I want heaven, and I do believe that there is that on the other side or something that resembles that. And I'm not going to dig deep in that because then this podcast is going to last 7.5 hours. But I want my experience here and now to be heavenly and to be heaven connected. Because for me, that's how I get to heaven on the other side, and not by sheer pain. Again, pain is just a tool that the body has to tell you that you're not on the right track. So use the pain, utilize it. But in order to utilize it properly, you have to be willing to listen to what it's trying to tell you.
I think a lot of people are going to be waking up to this more and more.
I hope so.
Yes, yes. Because so I've listened to some podcasts too, trauma expert, coaches, therapists, and we talk a lot about this thing, ourselves remembering all of the things. So it is actually our duty to be self-aware. Now, it depends on the degree of how exposed you are to that self-awareness assessment or tools or however modality that you go to find out your level. But then when you actually open yourself or start thinking about that, taking a step back, not as the subject in the I think that's the first step to maybe enhancing or increasing your self-awareness.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think that we fantasize about another version of ourselves. And sometimes that version isn't really who we are. It's just who we think it's going to be more liked or more successful or more this or more that. But when you look at I don't want to say powerful in the sense of money. I mean powerful in their identity, such as, I don't know, Mel Robbins, Tony Robbins, Oprah, Barack Obama, so many others that, that I can't think of right now. What they did is we look at their success and their bank accounts. I mean, if you think about Oprah, I'd take 1/10 of her bank account, and well deserved. She worked for every penny. But when I look at her, she understood all these people that I just named. They all look like they're bigger than life, but there's nothing bigger than life. Life is really, really, really big. So our job as human beings is not to become more like them. We are different. Our job is to figure how and where and what is it about us that makes us different and be more of that. And I think that all of these people that I just named, if I just think about Oprah, she tapped into who she was. She was unafraid to dig deep and look at herself and claim her space. It was already her space. She just needed to fill it Well, it's the same thing for all of us. But we associate success with money. And that's a very American way of thinking. And I should say North American way of thinking what success is or defining success. But even if if your dream is to be the best shoe repair person in the world, then claim that, right? It's yours. It's your birthright. So claim it.
That is the message that I need today.
Oh, beautiful.
Isabelle, you are a force to be reckoned with.
Thank you.
And I believe there are no coincidences, and we are exactly where we're meant to be.
Absolutely.
And I cannot thank you enough, and I am forever grateful for all the people that has come up to this show. Even though this is a topic that when I was on my own journey, seeking for that external validation until, I realized actually all the answers are within us. Yes. And it's only then I start to think that, yes, the people that you name, I put them on my vision board as well. It's so funny that you had Tony Robbins, you named Tony Robbins, Oprah, both of them, they're side by side on my vision board. And when you said claiming your spot, these are the examples of people that actually did that. And our job is to step into our highest, truest version of us, how we long to be, because we're expressing it in this lifetime or in this reality. So they are just yardstick, but we have to do that. We are given that we have all the tools to do that and to claim that in whatever capacity that we're in right now. So like you said, that a good example is that shoemaker, but if he or she is proud of that, I mean, he or she lived his life knowing full well that he expressed himself
Absolutely.
to the best of his capability.
Absolutely. When I was in the military, I was 17 years old, and maybe she was 30, maybe she was 20 years older than me. Her late 30s. And there was a technician that worked in the store. It's basically when you need something that is not issued gear, you go to that place. It's called the supply. So you go to the supply and you sign for it. And if you don't return it, eventually you get a bill. So it's like a library, but for military gear. And the corporal that worked there, she had been in service for 20 years. She had joined right out of high school as well. And she had her rank was corporal, which is the first promotion you get in the Canadian military. So you join as a private and then you become a corporal. And technically, after 4 years of being a corporal, you're eligible to become the next rank, right? To climb that next rank. And she had a little plaque on her desk, and it was written corporal for life. And I thought, why? And I got to know her name was Linda, and well, I'm guessing it still is. And I got to know Linda a little bit over the years, and I asked her about 2 years in, maybe. I asked her why she was a corporal for life. And she said, well, because in order to get the promotion to the next rank, which is in the Canadian military is Master Corporal, she said, you need to go on that course. It's called Junior Leadership Course. And I know because I've gone on that course. And she said, I refuse to go. And I said, why? She says, because I refuse to be a leader. I don't want to. It's not me. I like my job, have a simple life. I get fulfillment in my daily work, and my self-worth comes from outside of work. So I don't want the headache. At the time, I was maybe 18 or 19 when she told me that, and I truly didn't understand it. I thought, well, she is lacking ambition. I sat in judgment. The fact that she lacked ambition because I wanted to climb, right? So I
Yes. We were projecting.
Exactly. As all of us humans, we don't see life as it is. We see life we are. So I saw her situation through my eyes and I thought, wow. And I truly judged her. And I apologized for that a couple of decades later. And I saw her, our path, separated. I was posted elsewhere, whatever. And our path separated. And about 10 years later, I saw her at a reunion of that particular squadron, and she was still a corporal for life. And I'm telling you, Nicolette, she was the happiest of campers. I said, you're really, now I had done work on myself. And I looked at her and I said, you're truly, really fulfilled with
Yourself.
this job.
Yeah.
And I am. She says, I love the job. I talk to a lot of people. It helps me with my needs and it helps me with this. And it's satisfying for this reason and it's satisfying. And I thought, oh my God, she doesn't lack ambition. She just
She figured it out earlier
yeah,
than us. Yeah.
knows who the hell she is. And that is beautiful. So why am I sharing this story? Well, we're not all meant to be Oprah, and thank God for that. And we don't all have the desire to create something as big as she did. And that's fine. Just figure out what it is that you are meant for. And it's easy to figure out whatever brings you joy. That's it. Whatever you think is easy, that's it. Whatever people naturally come to you
I love that.
and you're not
Easy.
being
Yeah.
paid for and you do with your eyes closed, that's it. That is your natural ability. Take that and make money with it. Or give it away. That's fine. I mean, I have a mortgage to pay, so but that's it. Whatever you find is easy. Because we all think that what we find is easy, the rest of the world thinks it's easy, but it's not. Maybe it's extremely easy for you and it's extremely complicated for me. And therefore, I'd be willing to pay you because it's easy for you. Take that. That's the cue. Joy.
Damn. I love it. Thank you for that empowering message and just the reinforcement I need, and also all of our listeners tuning in to the show, because self-worth often the way I saw it before was what it has to do with the achievement, the accolades that I collected over the years. No, 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 no. And life truly humbled me in a way that, hey, put out your if you could put your limb out for this company for the wrong reasons, imagine if you could just sit in ease and be in flow and be at joy doing what you can, what you want to do without you having to worry. Of course, you have to worry. Yes, you have to worry about money, but then I've tested this several times. If I just do what I want to do and I feel like, yes, and I'm provided for. Yes, I am provided for. So
Excuse me. Yeah. You can't be
there is
punished for being who you are. It's not possible.
exactly.
Life doesn't work that way.
I love that. That's a full circle moment for us. You mentioned that in the first part. So, Isabelle, what are you working on currently?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm working on growing my network here locally. I focused my business and my networking in the United States in the past 4 years. And that is great. And I still like it and I still love it. But right now I'm feeling a sense of belonging to my country and my province, and also the need to be working physically in the same room as people instead of doing it on Zoom. So that's kind of the number one priority, is just to be surrounded by people, because you get energy in real life that you don't get on Zoom.
Yes.
So yeah, so I feel like I'm a teenager starting a new job because even though my job is the same, I have no local clients, like none whatsoever.
I know, right? So I can totally relate to
Yeah.
that.
And, of course, I have an opinion on and I'm not going to share it, but, with everything that's happening in the United States and the United States between every other countries in the world, I'm just going to let them, do their thing for a while. And when they're ready to open up to the world again, I'll go back.
Yeah. Perhaps it's something that I mean that's the very reason why I'm back here as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
I hear you, sister.
yeah. Let it percolate, let it
And,
yes,
it's,
they
it's,
do whatever they need to do.
exactly, and it's their country and they're allowed, and I'm truly not sitting here in judgment.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I can do is what applies to my life, and and that's what I'm doing. And I truly, truly, honestly wish them well, and I hope they're going to be able to figure some things out because right now they're
Yes.
hurting, and that's very sad to me. They're
Yes.
hurting on an
Yes.
individual level. And that
Very
is
much.
painful for me to watch. I have very, very good
Yes.
friends in the States and they're hurting. And
So
unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it. So, let them, I think they're going to implode a little bit and, struggle and found their boundaries and then, reconnect to the world. And when they're ready, we'll be here.
exactly. Allies. We're citizens of the world.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So okay, Isabel, I would love to take you to a spin on a self-worth question.
Okay.
So the question for you, there's no right or wrong answer, just your opinion. In your journey, have you found a connection between spirituality and self-worth? How do spiritual beliefs or practices influence your sense of self?
Oil influences everything. My preferred, my go-to, my morning routine, my everything is gratitude. I'm grateful for things I haven't received yet because
I
if
love that.
you say yet, then it means that you're open to
You're just
not only
expecting.
receiving it, but learning how, because sometimes we don't know how to receive things. So no, I'm truly, truly a spiritual being and first and the body comes second. And it shapes everything. It shapes everything. Because when I think that for me anyway, I don't know if that's the experience for everyone, but for my experience, when I connected myself to the spiritual world, that's how I realized my self-worth. Wasn't created my mistake. I'm here. I do offer something nobody else does. Nobody. 9 billion people. There's only one me. Imagine how wonderful that is. And not only is there only one me now, there will always, for the rest of eternity, only be one me and one you. And I bring things to this world and you can't, and you bring things to the world I can't. And that's beautiful. And honestly, in the last 10 to 15 years, I've come to realize that I think it was created by design. Because if you're extremely naturally good at something I'm not good at, that means you and I need one another. And if all of us, 9 billion people, if we were all completely autonomous and self-sufficient, then what would life look like? Well, first of all, it'd be boring as hell. It's fun to need somebody. It's fun. It's entertaining. I had a spat with my significant other yesterday morning, and I almost, like, my natural reaction was to look at him and say, "Can you tell me why the F you're—" That was my natural reaction. But you know what, Nicolette? I caught myself before, and that's beautiful. I'm very proud to share this with you. Caught
Wow.
myself before I went you know what, right?
Yes.
Before the words came out,
Flew out of
I centered myself
Pusa.
I took a deep breath, like a deep breath. And instead of saying WTF, I said, honey, can you help me understand that? And there's nothing threatening in please help me understand. There's nothing threatened. And he went, well, absolutely. And then he explained his behavior, and it even got him to realize where it was coming from, because, it started a conversation, right? Because it wasn't me pushing back. It was me being interested in what he was truly interested in what he was saying. And then I'd ask another question, and then another, and then he got to where it was coming from. So now for him, he can look at that behavior and know that he has it and figure out if he wants to change it or not. And for me, instead of being angry and then he gets angry at me for being angry, and then how dare he get angry for me being angry, and escalating to no end. There's people that have grudges. They hold to their grudges for 40 years, right?
Yes.
So instead of doing that, it did the complete opposite, and it brought us together. And now that he's aware of that behavior, because my job was just to hold a mirror, now that he's aware, then he gets to decide what he does with that behavior. And I get to decide if I stick around when he has that behavior, because that's my choice. And that's it. That's it. That's life. It's as
I love that.
simple as that. To go back to your question, without my spirituality, I would have never gotten to that moment in my life, ever. I needed to be right. I needed to have the last word in every conversation. I was like that. I remember a friend of mine pointing out that we were on the phone. That was before cell phones and text messages and all like that. And if we were on the phone and we were ready to hang up, I'd say, okay, all right, well, I'll talk to you next week. Okay, bye. And she'd say bye. I would add a bye because I needed to have the last word. So without spirituality, I never become self-aware. Ever, 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 ever. Not me. Maybe somebody else can, and that's fine. More power to you. I couldn't have. Directly linked to my self-worth.
I mean, you took something so simple and you really magnified it as to how important spirituality played out.
Yeah.
It's playing a role in your life
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. See, that's my natural ability, is to explain stuff.
I love that. Okay, Isabelle, what is your heart's greatest wish?
To impact the biggest quantity of people in the world in a positive way. And that is, and that's the reason I chose to do what I do with leaders. Because if the leader gets better, it has a ripple effect on their team members or employees, regardless of how they want to call them. And then when the employee is doing better, that has a ripple effect on their family. And when the family is doing better, it has a ripple effect on the community. And if you want to change the world, just start with your community. So I want every single individual on this planet to just understand how precious they really are and tap into that. Imagine a world where everybody was allowed to be who they are. My goodness. No wars, no fighting, no conflicts, just love. And love, not love, goo goo gaga, no guru, no kumbaya. No, just love. Simplest, most complicated word in every language.
Yet it is the simplest. If you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
Individuality really is all it's cracked up to be.
Brilliant.
Truth be told, I didn't create it.
Okay.
I copied it.
That's fine.
But I copy it because it's the author of that quote is a woman from Ireland that's called Caroline McHugh. And she has a TEDx everybody in the world should watch. If you go on YouTube, it's there. The TEDx is called The Art of Being Yourself. And the reason I quote her is because it was the first time in my life that I heard in words what I've been feeling inside all my life. And I cannot say it better. I can't. So I took her words, but I give her credit though.
Absolutely. So how can people reach out to you?
LinkedIn is a great way to communicate with me. Isabelle Fortin, I'm sure it'll be in the title. But there's a bunch of us. Choose the one with the purple hair. If you're listening to this podcast and not watching it, I'm the one with the purple hair. And my website is againsttheordinary.org. Please be patient because my website, well, quite frankly, sucks because I'm not good at it. And my stubborn head decided that I was creating my own website, and that's okay. It's in the process of being remade by someone whose natural ability is actually to create websites. So it's going to be beautiful. So if you open the website and you find it beautiful, that means it's been changed.
Okay. I'll be sure to keep that in mind. Okay, Isabelle, before we wrap up the conversation, any last message for our listeners?
Dare to be who you are and claim. You are not here by mistake. Claim your space. There's room for everybody in this planet. There's room for everyone in this world. Claim it. It's yours. It's your birthright. Claim it. Don't ask permission.
Do it. Show people the way. Take example. I mean, you have a group of you and then one of you decides to say, I don't want to be stuck in this situation anymore and I'm claiming my space. I'm going to go ahead. Well, the others may be like, are you sure? Are you sure? Then yeah, I'm going. And then that actually lights up the way for the rest to actually follow.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So that is a wrap on today's inspiring episode with Isabelle Fortin. Thank you for your wisdom, Isabelle, and for your dedication to continue to uplift others with your work. Now, for our listeners, this has been Your Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, if you've ever felt worthless, remember you are not alone. Your soul chose to be here to matter. And for that reason alone, you are worthy. A huge thank you to you again, Isabelle, and to all of you for listening. Until then, I am Nick Nieras. Keep shining, keep growing, and always remember, you are worthy and you are enough. See you in the next episode. Thank you, Isabelle, for your time.
Thank you.
And cut. Hello, Isabelle. Good morning to you. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. Thank you for having me, Nicolette.
Well, thank you for saying yes to be interviewed today. I'd like to introduce myself to you formally and to all of our listeners listening for the first time or returning subscribers. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled Your Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, today we're going to talk about great teams are built one person at a time. Okay, but first off, I'd like to introduce you to all of our listeners before we get into the nitty-gritty of the conversation.
Beautiful.
So, hello everyone. We have Isabelle Fortin here with us, drawing on her unique experience in the Royal Canadian Air Force and the business world. Isabelle transformed how organizations approach leadership. Now, as an international consultant and speaker, she helps leaders optimize their teams by leveraging the power of individuality. Okay, very important conversation. Isabelle, welcome to the show.
Love this episode? Now, transformation doesn't end here. Head on to @holistic.lifestyle_with_Nick. That is on my Instagram. Or head on to my website, www.denigneras.holisticlifestyle.com for more info on my coaching framework, which is the Worthy, Authentic, and Abundant Framework, digital guides, and my upcoming events such as retreats and master classes and workshops. Now, I also do intuitive readings where we get to check on your soul